It's the Eagle Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, and welcome to this, a special edition of the Forum here on Eagle Television. Great to have you watching. Our program is brought to you by Hayes Med and by all of us at Eagle Communications. Our guest is Barb Wasinger, and Barb has just finished her first session, very first session of the 111th District, representing those of us mostly in Ellis County.
It's all Ellis County. It's the southeast corner of Ellis County.
Kind of winds around Victoria.
And Hayes and Munger, and so everybody has about 20 to 22,000 constituents in their district.
What's cool about that is you represent us. Yeah, you represent us in the area right here where we're watching right now. Barb, this is your first time.
It is.
But you're not. You've done a lot of public service in your career.
Yeah.
What caused you to run to be in Topeka versus doing service work here?
You know, it's always been a matter of giving back to my community for me, and so public service just sort of was a natural progression. I had been asked to run for every office I've been in, and I thought, well, this might be a good time to do it, and I think it was. I'm glad. I'm really so honored. I'm such a geek. I would live a block from the Capitol, and it's I walk towards it in the morning, and it's such a gorgeous building. And then when I leave at night and it's dark, and you see everything lit up, I'm in awe. It's quite an honor to be there, and I really appreciate being able to serve the people of Ellis County.
Well, those that you know that are in your position, they do have a chance to, you know, serve and really try to get the right answer. And there's not always, as you probably found out, there's probably different opinions as to what the right answer might be.
Exactly. It was Randy Gustafson, one of the former city managers, before I became a city commissioner, my first public service job. And he said, well, you know, that there's a reason why they call them city fathers. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you just have to make decisions based on the best information you have at the time, the same way you do when you're raising children. So when you look at it that way, you know, you just research what you can, do the best you can, make the decision, and go from there. So it's very similar to being a parent. So.
Well, like in parenting, you always get surprises. Were you surprised with anything when you made it to Topeka? You know, that first day you walk up, you see the Capitol, sun's coming up, and then you get inside and something hits you, surprise. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Well, what I said this to the city commission the other night. I think I was really well prepared for the basic job in Topeka because I've been in government service, budgeting, figuring out departments, figuring out where things should go and how they fit. The biggest thing I was not expecting was the length of days. And they go very quickly. They jam a lot of stuff into a short period of time. So what I wasn't expecting is I'm an early riser, so I get to the Capitol before 7:30. And I wouldn't get back to my room until 9:30 at night.
With an event every hour or all
something
day
going
long.
on, something going on constantly. And so the length of days, I mean, I'd bring things back to read and I'd fall asleep reading things. So I'd get up earlier and go back and try to, you know, get caught up. So by the end of the session, I think I really got a handle on that. But that was the biggest surprise for me, was the length of the days. It's just how long your nose is on that grindstone, and you're always on. And
you need to be prepared for the next day as well to do that. Were you surprised about the number of people that contacted you with their beliefs, their ideas? Was that overwhelming, or was it easy?
No, it's interesting. You know, I expected more. I think I got more when I bought blue poly carts for the city of Hayes. But and I wasn't alone. I wasn't alone buying the blue poly carts. So I don't need anyone.
Everybody loves them now.
So if anyone who doesn't, you just call Toby Doherty. He's the city manager. Feel free to call him.
He likes those calls.
That's right.
Yeah.
He loves them. No, it's what I didn't expect were all the other organizations that what they do is they schedule 15-minute meetings for you. And so starting at 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, 8:45, well, you kind of stop at 8:45 because you have a 9 o'clock committee, which my 9 o'clock committee is financial institutions and pensions, which
But some good things came out of that. We'll talk about that when we talk a little bit later.
Yes, some really good things came out of that. And then you go back out, and then you've got meetings. People are coming in, whether it's the library association or the optometrists, or it's the water people, the cable people, everything. And so people are coming in and out, and you get a lot of great information from them. I don't always agree with them, but it's great to hear.
Yeah, and you're such a good people person too, like to see everybody, because it is one of those things that you want to see, and especially friends from this area that are coming back too.
It's really fun when people come from home. And in fact, Louise McCord, who sold real estate here for years, has moved to Topeka, showed up with her daughter, and that was a really nice surprise. And says, someone who says she knows you is out in the office, outside the office. So anyway, there are all those kind of things. People come and they want their pictures taken, they want to see things. And it's great that I can bring them in places, and it's fun to share. It's like I said, it's a gorgeous building. And so it's a real moment of pride when you go in there, I think.
I know they call it a part-time legislator, but when you're there, you're on full-time.
You're on full-time.
And if you're not, you're probably missing something you should be at. That's what I've noticed when I've had a chance to be there and visit with people.
There's
always something.
You can't be in two places at one time. So you just do the best you can. And I try to go to everything that I know Hayes people and Ellis County people will be at. If people contact me ahead of time, ask me to be there, I do my level best to be there. But like I said, in the morning, like 9 o'clock is financial institutions and pensions, and then right after lunch is higher education budget, and then 2 hours later is taxation, which runs 2.5 to 3 hours every day. So then as soon as you get done with that, you have the cable people are there. Gary Sherman wants you to stop by somewhere, so you go ahead and you do it. So it's really, there are a lot of fun parts. There are some days you get back and you just are so tired.
Well, I can see
there's
that.
no wild and crazy Barb in Topeka, because she gets right back to her room and goes to bed. Boy,
and
that's wild.
To read the next morning.
That's right.
So when you're driving back from Topeka this last time, I know it just doesn't end when the session ends because you're back and forth, on other committees. And when you're driving back though this last time, did you rate yourself and say, hey, I'm really pleased with this?
I kind of think I rated myself every day. Some days I felt like I just did not. I mean, one day after a higher ed budget meeting, I don't hide how I'm feeling very well. So Ken Rogers, who's the chair, said, "You look really unhappy. What's going on?" And I said, "I don't think we did enough. I feel like we passed this along to send to appropriations, and I think we need to do more." And so we talked about it, and it was good. I have a lot of Senator Rick Billinger has been really good to me. Ken Rogers is Representative Ken Rogers, who represents the rest of Ellis County, by the way.
He has more square miles than you do, but not more people, because his goes north and west of here.
All over, yeah. He has like 4 counties. I have one of the most compact districts. We all have the same amount of constituents, approximately. I mean, that will obviously kind of juggle when they do redistricting. But Johnson County will probably get more reps. So.
Yeah, that's another question we can talk about a little bit later, that Johnson County versus Ellis County kind of thing. But first off, you were on a couple of committees. Did you like the committees you were appointed to? As a freshman, here's your committee.
Here it is. This is what you get. And this is where you sit, and this is what you're supposed to do.
Higher education, obviously important.
Higher education was really good because having Fort Hays here, it's really nice to be a part of that. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed financial. I really enjoyed all of them. Jim Kelly, Representative Jim Kelly, was my chair for financial institutions, and he was really helpful.
From Independence, right?
Rich Prowl was his vice chair, and they were always, do you need anything? Let me explain how this works. Because at first, it's Mason's rule of order. and not Robert's Rules of Order. And there's a little difference, slight difference. So I have a Mason's Rules of Order.
Curve.
I'm learning more. You know, and there's just, in committees, you don't literally ask the person your question. You're really supposed to ask the chairman
the question.
So you raise your hand and you say, "Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is this," and the people answering are supposed to really answer the chair. Now, it doesn't always work that way.
Doesn't seem to, but yeah, that's the way it's supposed to work.
But those are things, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. And so there, you know, there was that was a little bit of a learning curve. But and then taxation, I've got Stephen Johnson is the chair of that, and he's from Syria.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about those. We're going to take a break and come back. But before we do, I want to just talk, we've been talking about what it's like to be there. This was a new legislature in a sense. You had a new governor.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see on TV, you know, people yelling at each other in Washington. Did you get any of that experience, or was it more of a let's work together to fix Kansas experience?
I think overall it's a let's work together. But there is some yelling, not a lot. It's usually on specific topics, and it's really kept in check. I personally didn't yell at anybody.
But it's professional.
But it is. It's and what I appreciate is you can be on completely different sides, and then leave and discuss family and discuss other things, and not keep grudges, and so you can work together and work on things. So. But it was interesting. It was, you know, with an inauguration and everything. So
that was fun, and I know Governor Kelly, you know, the other side of the aisle from you, I think seemed like she was willing to work as well, because some things like education appeared to get fixed, and some other things that we can talk about more specific when we come back.
That's a deal.
All right. Barb Wasinger represents us in the 111th District in the state of Kansas. We'll be back with more after this.
Hi, Scarlett here, and Eagle Radio of Hayes is sending me back to Branson September 9th through the 12th on a comfy Village Tours bus. See the fall foliage, hit the casino, and catch a roll at Lambert's Cafe. We are scheduled to see these great shows: Samson, The Hay Goods, The Acrobats of Shanghai, Clay Cooper's Music Show, The Branson Bell Cruise and Lunch Show. Singles, couples, join me September 9th through the 12th. All this for only $798. Call me at 301-2211 to reserve your seat now.
Hayes Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, Hayes Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hayes Med, helping people be healthy.
Eagle Communications is your ultimate business partner. We provide business class phone with customizable features and fast, reliable internet. Your knowledgeable team at Technology Solutions has a broad base of IT services to meet your needs. Let the experts at Marketing Solutions get your message to the right people on the best platforms. The only piece missing is your business. Call Eagle Communications today at 877-61-EAGLE.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum. Our guest is Representative Barb Wasinger, who represents those of us in the 111th District in the state of Kansas. Our program is brought to you by Hayes Med, and I'd like to ask if you have some questions, ideas, some things you'd like us to look into here on the forum, drop me a note. It's at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also go online on Facebook under EC TV Forum. It's good to have you watching again. Our guest Barb Wasinger. We're talking about really her first session. But we want to dive down into maybe some of the more nuts and bolts. Yeah, okay. Nuts and bolts of what's going on. Let's talk education first. That seems like one of those things that always is out there.
Yes.
Of course, you're on taxation, so some of the money comes, I guess all the money comes from that end of thing. Exactly. Did that tie over? Do you feel satisfied with where we got on education? The Supreme Court got satisfied, correct?
Well, they're not completely satisfied.
No,
they're retaining jurisdiction, which is a whole different discussion for me, since I don't know if you ever had a civics lesson, but
they're always out there.
The judicial branch is not supposed to decide budget. It's the legislative branch that does that. So I find that a little disconcerting. But yeah, the education looks like it's okay right now, you know, because over 2/3 of the budget is spent on education.
So in your committees, did you taxation deal with that along with the higher ed, because that's another committee you're at? So
higher ed, we dealt with the community colleges and the state universities, and because the Board of Regents has an umbrella over all of it, we basically give money to the Board of Regents, and they do that depending on the budgets and how they go. That spilled over. Higher ed does not get the press that K through 12 gets, and then so there were, you know, there was a little bit of K through 12 that got involved in taxation, but mostly it's really taxation is nuts and bolts, other than the tax bill that we tried to put through that was vetoed. So
that had
where
to
we
do
tried
with
to
the
lower,
combination of national, and if people were itemizing on the national level.
right? It's we're a rolling conformity state, and which means we follow whatever the federal government does. So when they upped their standard deduction, that means that no one can itemize. No one can itemize their mortgage interest or medical payments, anything
at a certain
like that,
level,
below that 24,000 threshold. So we tried to fix that. We tried to close the loophole in internet sales tax. There are, everyone is supposed to pay sales tax, but there are third-party vendors that operate through places like Amazon and Etsy and all those other
eBay.
A lot of those online, the larger online groups all pay sales tax to the local organization, you know, to the state, but the smaller ones don't, and that kind of is a bad. It's a bad thing for rural
local business.
Yeah, and we want to keep it a fair, even playing field. They're supposed to pay tax, but it's voluntary. So this bill was to make everyone having to pay it. It would be mandatory. It wasn't adding new sales tax. It was just making
Collecting it right.
Collecting it properly. But what we wanted to do with that, and what the tax bill said, was to put whatever new monies that came from that, and that would continually buy down sales tax, food sales tax, because the food sales tax is really high in Kansas. We're one of the highest states that have food sales tax. So that did not pass. So I was disappointed about that.
You did make some progress on the CAPERS pension, because that's part of your thing, and being able to not only catch up on some, because that's been behind.
For, from what I understand, for 25 years.
And so you ended up getting some money and then additional money into CAPERS to keep that going, which I know affects a lot of people in our area. We
put $115 million back into CAPERS for late payments, and then put another over $50 million. And the number kind of varies as to who you talk to, whether it was 51 to 56, but it's over $50 million for this year's payment. Or last year, I should say, 2018. So we're trying to get caught back up, and we're getting back into more of a safe zone with our long-term liability. So.
One thing I saw also that went through, that came through this session, it seems like less money was taken out of roads.
It was.
Out in our part of the world, we have to have good roads. We're a long way from everywhere. If you're in Kansas City, you can take an Uber and get somewhere, but if you're out here, you need a good road.
You have to drive, yes. We still are using money from the Bank of
There's still work to do.
There's a lot of work to do. But we stopped a large portion of the transfers out, and we put money back in. And I want to say 35 million or more.
Okay.
Maybe it's 83 million. I'm transposing the numbers, but going back to
less than the year before, yes.
Yes, going back into T-Works to try to finish those projects, which a lot of them are out here in rural Kansas, which we need. And I mentioned this before, you know, the one thing the Transportation Task Force kept hearing about was fixing 2-lane roads. A lot of them don't have shoulders, which is super dangerous, and they're dangerous roads if we don't take good care of them. So hopefully we're on the road getting back there.
Well, keep pushing on that, because out here is certainly needed. Now, I have a whole bunch of questions, but I'm going to run out of time here.
I don't know. Do I have all the answers for those?
You do. What is, though, it comes from you. Is there anything legislatively you were most proud of this year that you were a part of? Because I looked down some of the things that you're a part of, and you have some really cool bills that you're a part of. Creating the Kansas Student and Education Freedom from Religious Speech Act. You go on the list there, abolishing the Death Penalty Act. Several of these things that were in here that you were a part of. But was there one of those things that you came away going, oh, I'm really proud that I worked on that?
What I'm most proud of is that I have not done anything that I didn't say I was going to do. You know, I say what I mean and do what I take care of it. So I'm proud of staying true to what I've told my constituents how I would vote. And a lot of those didn't go much farther. So you get them in, but you don't. They sit, and they don't get through the floor. They have to be voted on and then moved through.
And that's part of the process of being there more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years,
exactly.
to have enough ability to move some of those things forward.
Right. Well, and the other thing that was interesting when I got there was we were voting on bills right away, and I thought, oh wait, no, we just started. How does that work? But things that were brought in the last year that didn't come forward automatically get a new life in the new legislature or the next session. And if they don't pass them, then they die and they have to come back resurrected as a different number. So, but it's, you know, I'm just...
It takes time. It's not something you go and say, I want to get this done, and 2 weeks later you have something done.
It is a lot more background that you have to do.
Patience, too.
Yeah, and in order to get a bill in, you have to, first go to your leaders, whether you're in the minority party or the majority party. You have to talk to the minority leader or the majority leader, and they can give you their blessing. Yeah, go ahead. Then you have to find a committee that will take it. Whether it's state,
you have to get your work done getting started.
Oh my gosh! So you got to. Well, first, if you got the idea and they say go ahead, then you can go. You go to the revisers, and they're the ones that write the bills. They're the attorneys, and they sit in every committee meeting.
Well, I know it's a challenge to get that first year going. The second year.
Lot.
So we'll wrap up with this question.
Okay.
You represent a rural part of the state. While everybody has their 22,000 constituents, yours in a rural part. How was I'll call it a fight between East and West Kansas. Did you feel that come right from the start?
No, but it's pervasive, because it's hard for, and I felt like this with Leadership Kansas too. I felt like we need to be heard out in Western Kansas, and we need to not let them just make decisions and forget that we're out here. I have a good example. There was a legislator that wanted to put a tax on cars, how many miles everyone drove. And I said, I mean, I could barely keep my mouth shut. I said, oh, I love this amendment.
Yes.
It's great. So now your fellow representative from Hayes, how about from Goodland or Ulysses and Syracuse, who are coming to Topeka, will have to pay more money because they've drove more miles, even though you may drive just as many miles all around Johnson County. So,
but that's one of those things. It's rural versus what you have in the bigger cities of being able to do that. So we're proud of the work you've done. There's a big list. There's a big list of things I know went on. I know you jumped right in the middle of that and have done a great job. What's next? What do you do now this summer through fall to get ready for your second session?
Oh, let's see. Well, let's see. Right now I'm doing things like the Eagle Forum.
Like that, so
visiting with the City Commission. I have a couple of conferences to go to this summer. I have...
do you get assigned things to go? You got to go be at this one for a committee like taxation that you do that? Or?
Well, I'm a member of the Joint Administrative Rules and Regulations Committee, and that's in Topeka, so I've been back and forth for that. That doesn't meet on a regular basis. That's more quarterly. But the conferences are usually, you're invited by different organizations to apply for them, and you can get scholarships to go. So I have a couple that, one in July and one in August, and then the Wild West Fest parade. I'll be in that. Anyone who wants to walk with me.
I'll look for you there.
And then, you know, homecoming parades.
Comes up.
Those
All that
will come.
comes up.
But anytime anyone wants to have you come and speak to them, I try to do that.
I know you're out in the community here a lot. How do people get a hold of you? What do they do? And we'll wrap up with what's the best thing to find out. Somebody has an idea. Somebody has a thought. They don't like this, they like that. What's the best way to find you?
They can email me at barb@barbforkansas.com, or they can call.
You can go find out on your website. You have a cool website.
I have a website. I'm available on Twitter. I'm available on Facebook. There's Barb for Kansas, and then there's my personal page, and my Instagram feed is Barb Wasinger. So
one thing about it in today's
I have
world,
not hid. You know, it's very hard to hide. So I think the biggest time that people ask me questions is at the grocery store or at Walmart. And so, and it's usually, they usually apologize, and I always say, no, that's my job. I'm supposed to do that. That's okay. They can get a hold of me any way they can beg, borrow, or steal. I'm happy wherever I am to answer any questions I can.
Well, thank you for doing that. It's years. I've not added up. I should probably do. You maybe have the years of community service since the city council, county, all that sort of thing that you've been involved with. But really appreciate the time you put in, because it's not a part-time job; it's a full-time job.
Well, and we appreciate you as well,
so,
because there are a lot of great people in this community who love this community and want the best for it.
You want the best. So thanks for fighting for us in Topeka, and thanks
for
what you do.
Always.
Barb Wasinger has been our guest here on the forum. Barb represents all of us here in the 111th District, Ellis County. That includes Hayes, Victoria, Munger, and some other little communities, but all of us in that area, southeast Ellis County.
That's southeast corner of Ellis County, just about.
Thanks for joining me, Barb.
Thanks
for watching the forum. Brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications. Our community connected.